An overreaction Monday for the ages is on tap after the Bison fall at Illinois State. We'll pick it all apart, and the Vikings are finally back in the win column. Hot Mike begins now.
Hot Mike with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mike.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mike. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Monday morning. Welcome to the What in the World Happened edition of Hot Mike on WDAY Extra. KSFL TV, good morning everybody in Sioux Falls, KNBN in western South Dakota, and all parts in between on Inforum.com. Happy Monday, everybody. The 8th of December is here, 2025. Great to be with everyone. Hope you had a dynamite weekend. I know for some, the sun hasn't come up in a couple of days. All I can tell you is there are better days ahead. It is a Monday morning. Great to be with you. I was ready to celebrate a second straight victory Monday, and then the game rolled out with the Jets. Did they even play yesterday? The fact that they had a third-string quarterback play that I'm not even sure whose name it was, not ideal. So I don't have that. I was ready to celebrate Dale Murphy going into the Baseball Hall of Fame. That didn't happen. Some guy named Jeff Kent, former Met great Jeff Kent, got selected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. So 0 for 2. I'm like, all right, well, then we're going to have plenty to get ready for. Stay up late, watch the UC Davis Rhode Island game, and prepping for the Bison quarterfinal game. As North Dakota State got beat on Saturday by Illinois State. My email inbox, my Twitter been on fire since about 3:30 on Saturday afternoon. We will get to everything to unpack this, which is stunning. You know, I've had about 36 hours to try to get my thoughts together. They're still kind of scatterbrained, but we'll do our best here today with our usual Monday lineup of guests. I know plenty have lots to say out about it. Let them fly. We'll take any and all emails, tweets, as we always do on this program. Overreaction Monday isn't always contained to victories. Sometimes with defeats, which the Bison had not experienced one in 2025 prior to Saturday afternoon, usually produces some of our better content. So we're looking forward to that. And frankly, now an offseason begins a heck of a lot earlier than anybody anticipated, ever thought. Frankly, it's never happened before. In the Division I era, the Bison have never lost this early. Let's just put that out there right now. They have never not made it to the quarterfinal round. Even the 2010 team that snuck in the side door of the playoffs made it to the last 8. The 2023 team that lost 3 games played in the opening round, made it all the way, we know, to the semifinals. So there's no sugarcoating maybe the greatest upset in FCS playoff history. We were going through the number 1 seeds that have been defeated before this early, going back to when the tournament was 16 teams. It just has not happened where you had a team this much a favorite get dumped like this. So we'll spend plenty of time today, I would assume tomorrow and the coming days, because now with the exit when it happened, there's a whole other kettle of fish to be discussed here. Can the roster stay together? You're seeing today, if you follow college football at all, there are players that are declaring for the portal, and we know the portal doesn't open for another month. January 2 is officially when the portal opens, but that is irrelevant. You can declare. Now, there are guys that are going to be playing in playoff games or bowl games that have already decided, yep, we're done. And that is the biggest concern now surrounding the Bison football roster with the teams or the guys that are set to return. And we'll set aside plenty of time for that later in the week. Today is specifically about what happened on Saturday, which we'll get to in just a couple minutes. But I know many Bison fans are fans of the Minnesota Vikings, so you have at least a little bit to smile about this morning because your team finally won a game for the first time in a month, and the quarterback looked like he can play, at least against the bad Washington team. Viking offense had long drives and touchdown passes. J.J. McCarthy to Josh Oliver to open the game. Then the Vikes defense makes a stand on 4th and goal. They knock away this pass on Jaden Daniels to keep it a 7-0 score. Now in the late stage of the first, McCarthy dives for a first down. Why that's important, kept Minnesota on the field. And they stayed on the field. And they got a Justin Jefferson sighting. Remember last week he's sitting on the Gatorade, totally despondent. A Jordan Mason touchdown run, 19-play, 98-yard, 12-minute drive for the Minnesota Vikings to put a 14-0. Then the defense comes to play. Andrew Van Ginkel, the Gink, comes up with the interception. Former South Dakota great. And then this play here, Daniels goes down on that elbow that he dislocated a few weeks ago. He did not return. Vikings are able to capitalize on a Will Reichard field goal that he squeezes in through the upright there from 45 yards out. It's a 17-0 Minnesota lead. Later in the second half, McCarthy slings one to a wide-open Oliver. His second touchdown of the game. The Vikes are rolling. It's 24-0. Same score in the fourth. The third touchdown pass of McCarthy to his other tight end, to T.J. Hawkinson, to make it a 31-0 Minnesota rout. First time ever in Vikings franchise history, they go from getting shut out to shutting out a team. They snap their losing skid. In the process, they pick up their 5th win of the season. McCarthy goes for a career-high 3 touchdown passes, throws for $163. Jordan Mason, they ran the football. They ran for 162 yards. Mason scores a touchdown. Jordan Addison hauled in 4 receptions. And finally, something to smile about in the Viking locker room after the game.
We wanted to start fast, took the ball, and able to put a touchdown on the board, and then defense gets the stop, and then we can keep the ball for the next 12 minutes on a very long drive from our own 2-yard line. Third down conversions. I thought JJ had some phenomenal plays on third down, and then just continued to play within himself. Decision-making was going to be the priority today, and felt like he played a very clean game, protected the football, like I said, ran the show. So very proud of him and a lot of guys for that matter. But felt good to play to the standard that our fans deserve back here at US Bank Stadium, and a lot of football left. Players have overcome a lot of adversity, and really proud and very appreciative. I told them of just the consistency of staying the course and remaining together, being about things that are very, very important, not only in football, in locker rooms, but beyond that. The type of things that I'm really proud of with our guys. I'm very appreciative of that.
It was just playing, just going out there. And, the big message of last night's team meeting was, play for that 16-year-old self, that 16-year-old version of yourself. Understand, what got you into this game, what made you fall in love with this game, regardless of the record, regardless of where we are this season. Just go out there, have fun, play fast, play free, and I feel like we all did that today.
Who was putting that message out?
Coach Modkins, he talked to the offense on, I believe, Wednesday or Thursday in the unit meeting, and then Coach O'Connell reiterated it last night.
Did you feel like your 16-year-old self?
I did a little bit, yeah, with a lot of wisdom that I picked up, from this year, and just, all the learning lessons from them. But, just felt like it was a bunch of guys out there that were having fun.
So the Vikes are able to celebrate here this morning. They are not included in this graphic, which is the NFC playoff update, which now features a new team on top. That's the Los Angeles Rams, because the Packers knocked off the Bears. This is how tight it is in the NFC, where you went from 1 to 7. The Bears were the 1 seed. Now they are the last team in and fighting off the Lions, who are just a game back at 8-5. San Francisco is off this weekend. They're at 9-4. The Seahawks won big. You've got 3 teams in the NFC West right now with 9 or more wins. That's what we saw in the NFC North a year ago. Tampa Bay lost yesterday to the Saints, so Carolina is in the hunt here for the NFC North Championship. And then you've got Philly, who plays tonight against the Chargers, and obviously the Packers move up to the 2 spot now with the division lead by virtue of the head-to-head over Green Bay, or over Chicago, and they'll see the Bears again in a couple of weeks' time. Big day for Christian Watson yesterday with a couple of touchdowns in the Packer victory over Chicago. So that's where we're at in the NFC. The AFC saw Kansas City lose last night to the Houston Texans. I think we better prepare yourself for a playoff in the National Football League that's going to involve the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Denver Broncos, the New England Patriots, potentially the Houston Texans, and not the Kansas City Chiefs. And I segue this because there are so many out there that, especially in this viewing area, this part of the world, that are sick of the Chiefs, want to see a new team, and I direct that comparison to North Dakota State because the Chiefs have dominated in a way that the Bison have over the last decade, right? That, well, we want to see some new blood in there, right? Which I'm sure for the other, how many states that actually care about FCS football, I'll be generous and say 6 or 7, that are just grinning from ear to ear this morning that the Bison are out of the FCS tournament. It's very similar to what happened last night. I'm sure. I was sitting there watching it, of the game between the Chiefs and the Texans, and seeing Houston win, and I'm like, part of me, and I don't care, I had no rooting interest in it. I'm like, all right, well, good to see Kansas City be done. And immediately I thought, well, wait, that's got to be what fans around the country that care about FCS football are smiling because the Bison are out. And frankly, the one side of the bracket, we'll get to this later in the show with Sam Herder, is wide open now for a team that either can win a first national championship or make a first national championship game. Because the other side is prime for a Montana State rematch. No offense to our friends in South Dakota, because the Coyotes, of all the Dakota schools left, the Coyotes are the ones still standing. After they lost by $1 billion up here, they have got their act together in a big-time way. We'll get to that coming up later. Now, I put together a highlight reel here, if you want to call it highlight, of about 4 minutes long of what the Bison offensive struggles in this football game on Saturday. Now, remember, the very first play of the game for NDSU offensively went for a 78-yard touchdown from Cole Payton to Bryce Lance, and Bryce was wide open. And you're thinking, all right, well, here you go. Bison are going to roll it home like they have done time and time again. And then a funny thing happened on the way to the end of the game. They didn't, because they couldn't do anything offensively. This is later in the first quarter now, after Illinois State punted away. This play here, Cole Payton throws behind Chris Harris. He hits that. I think Harris goes for a ways. And then Payton just didn't have any time. We didn't see any of the QB run game, which we can discuss as the show goes on. If Cole was not healthy, we can certainly talk about the Bison offensive line not playing well. Ryan Babbitt's got the start at left tackle with Josh Mangan hurt. He got beat there. Illinois State's bull rush gave the Bison offensive line fits all day. Now we're early in the second quarter here. Now, something happened here, hadn't happened all year. Barika Penn fumbled the ball. Got poked loose. Illinois State recovered it. Now, the only saving grace there is the Bison got another interception, which we'll get to the 5 interceptions that the Bison had. But there's something that didn't happen all year. Again, it's playoff football, but there's something. Barika didn't fumble it once all season long. There, boom, coughed it up. That's just momentum killer there. Now, late here in the second quarter, Bison got to stop, thinking, all right, maybe they can do something again. There was just nowhere to run. That stretch run play that went for gobs of yards against Illinois State in normal ain't there. Wasn't there at all. Redbird defensive line, you have to give them a ton of credit because they owned it. They out-physicaled North Dakota State. All right, so the Bison get the ball to start the second half, and this is it. Peyton had either no time or they kept dropping him back 5 or 6 steps. Somebody ration that to me. Griffin Empey got hurt on that play. Empey came back into the game, but again, offensive line was just completely dominated up front. Watch this again. I mean, they're bringing it, and there's something you don't see. The Bison line being pushed backwards, right? I mean, how many times we talked about them owning drives. Again, Peyton here walks into a sack. There, Magan got beat on the outside because they went back and forth between Babbitts and Magan. And this is something we're going to get into later in the show. I know I'm putting a lot of stuff off here, but the fact that they kept tinkering with the offensive line. I asked the question. I wouldn't say I was dismissed, but I think I was. In fact, they didn't find a 5 to roll with. They didn't at all. This is game 13. Now we're here in the fourth quarter. Again, they still can't move the ball. I don't know what that was on 3rd and 9. Peyton just threw it and nobody was home. Now, the contention that Cole was hurt was not addressed in the postgame press conference. I wasn't there for that. Peyton looked fine, but they never ran him. Not once was the QB run game used here. Again, a rollout here. Try to hit Bryce Lance. Knocked away there. Bryce had no catches after that. None. Reese Kessel didn't play in the game. Kessel warmed up. We never saw him play in the game on Saturday. Raja Nelson, nothing. All these playmakers that we talked about all year long. Here, this is the ultimate. A 3rd down and 7 is a swing out to Owen Johnson. And Owen's a great story. Owen's playing on one knee. That alone, I think that was the first time I had heard the boos from the 10,000 fans that were there. Another topic we'll get to. But rightfully so. That play calling was odd. And then, obviously, here's the coup de grace. With 2 minutes to go, Illinois State down 7, and they get Peyton to fumble it. And again, Polisic said last night in the coaches' show that maybe we should have run it there. You can certainly Monday morning quarterback, and that's clearly what we're doing here. It's Monday morning and discussing this. That obviously the fumble there. Illinois State gets the ball. They go down, score, and win the game. The stats on this, and McFeely and I were talking about it on Saturday, is every time you looked at a stat, they were worse than the next, right? The 178 total yards, bad. Okay, then 6 first downs, the least in the Division I era, bad. We talked about the rushing yards in the game, bad. The fact that they couldn't throw it down the field, that none of their guys caught the ball. They finally got one pass to Carson Williams, and I thought, all right, here they go. They converted on, I think it was a 22-yard pass to Carson Williams, and then got nothing after that. Peyton was 4 of 12 in his final collegiate game. And you take out the 78 yards, he threw for 23 yards after that. Just head-scratching. And again, combine this with the fact that they had 5 interceptions and a punt return touchdown, and they made 2 stops on 4th down, which basically are the equivalent of turnovers as well. So frankly, they got 7 turnovers in the game and lost. Now, the flip side of this is you can say, that, okay, well, the Bison had 179 yards, right? They had 6 first downs. They should have lost by 24. You know what I mean? Like, they couldn't do anything. The fact that they were leading by 2 scores. And that's the part, I think, this morning for Bison fans to rectify is they had a 2-score lead with 2:55 to go in the game and lost. And lost the game. Every time in the postseason, a North Dakota State team that's had a chance to hammer it home, 98% of the time has done it. 2016 against James Madison, they didn't. They had a chance. They tied that game up. They couldn't convert on a third down. JMU got the football back. Actually, they missed a field goal. JMU got the football back. They made the plays in the fourth quarter and won the game. Here, Bison offense couldn't get a first down. They just couldn't. All they need, honestly, I think you get one first down, you make Illinois State use some timeouts, at least a timeout, the game is probably over. And they couldn't do that. It's just, watching this again, and I watched a bit yesterday, is just mystifying. Poll question is up now at Hot Mike WDAY. Feel free to vote away. These are options today on the biggest factor in the Bison loss Saturday. Offensive line play, which I'm tending to go to. Play calling, the offensive coordinator always is going to get roast. Dan Larson didn't have a good day. He just didn't. Someone's going to have to explain to me the pass to Owen Johnson on 3rd down and 7. Or the defense played too much. The defense was out there for 91 plays. Frankly, the defense was awesome. Special teams was great. Aaron Bickerton hammered that ball every time he was asked to. He had a great day punting. Offense was horrible. There's no sugarcoating it. None. I'm still shaking my head over what went down on Saturday. So you can vote now. We'll have our poll results coming up by the time we're done. We've already got a bunch of responses, and we'll get to them in due time. We got a packed Overreaction Monday to get to. Our usual Monday lineup of guests here, brought to us by Northwestern Mutual. Sam Herder will join us at 9:35 to give us the lowdown on everything else that happened. We have 7 other teams in the quarterfinals. As I mentioned, South Dakota is the last Dakota school standing. The Coyotes are in the quarters for the 3rd straight year. Wrap your mind on that one, folks, after how they started this season. Illinois State is the other. The Big Sky has 3. All their seeded teams moved on, including a really bizarre scene at the end of the Montana State-Yale game between Britt Vegan and Julius Davis. We'll get to that coming up in a bit as well. Kolpack will be along at 10 o'clock. I know a bunch of people have comments for Jeffrey, which we'll get to, because now, as I mentioned, plenty on the game. But to me, you have to turn the page immediately. I know there's a team meeting today, and Polisic was talking about in the post-game press conference that we got to get with these guys. We got to make sure we're talking to them, because the Vultures, I said it in my post-game wrap on the news on Saturday night, the Vultures are circling. Look who just got hired in Ames, Iowa. Jimmy Rogers is now the head football coach at Iowa State. You don't think he knows exactly what's out there, right? That they can offer something that the Bison, frankly, the Green and Gold Collective has been in great form. It is. But there's just, we know this, a threshold of cash that people just can't say no to. And you tip your hat and say good luck to you. But that's out there. So there is a lot of work to be done. The Bison want to keep a majority of this roster together for 2026. And that's something we'll discuss in full here over the next few days. So lots to get to. Emails are pouring in. We appreciate it. We'll get to as many as we can over the next hour and 40 minutes. We'll take our first break. We come back. We'll salute our best of the weekend. We'll go to the hardwood. Dragons won a thriller. Bison basketball teams are rolling. We're glad you're joining us. Hot Mike back right after this. All right, it's time for our best of the weekend. Yes, there were some things that were best out there. I know for many fans that watch our show that it was not, but there were some good stuff, including over across the river in Moorhead. What a win for the Dragons on Saturday night facing Minnesota Duluth. Always a great rivalry game between these two teams. We saw the Dragons play in the exhibition game against North Dakota State. And okay, they got some pieces here. Well, Jason Kemp's got some dudes, including true freshman Issa El-Amin, because he delivered in a big-time way on Saturday. With the Dragons down 3 with 5 seconds to go, he cans a 3 to tie the game at 79 and send the game to overtime as Duluth had a chance to win it and missed it. Now in overtime, the game went nuts there. Duluth actually puts the hammer down, got up by as many as 4. Levi Burkholz with a great take and finish put the Dragons up by 1. Now they're down 4. El-Amin comes down, gets a quick 2, makes it a 2-point game with 11 seconds to go. Duluth makes one free throw. Burkholt's at the line. Dragons are down 2. 7 seconds to go. He misses the free throw. Rebound. Somehow the Dragons get it. El-Amin cans the 3 with 3.5 seconds to go. MSUM ends up winning it in overtime. Issa El-Amin, he may have that killer blood like his dad did. His Colin was awesome at the end of games. What a great win for the Dragons on Saturday night. And again, if you thought they were going to fall off the page and not be very good, well, Jason Kemp has got them rolling here early on in NSIC play. Great win. I think we'll have Kemp on the show either tomorrow or sometime this week, chat about that. Now, I know for many Bison fans, they don't ever acknowledge the fact that there's other sports besides football, but I'm here to tell you the basketball teams on the north side are pretty darn good. Jory Collins' team is 7-3 and ranked in the top 45 in the country. Saturday in front of less than family and friends in Ogden, Utah, the Bison went out there and in a sleepy environment. It's an easy game. You can not play well. They took care of business. Avery Coonan was great. Saw a basket from Molly Lenz. There's Abby Graham driving with an and one. Weber State made some shots, but the Bison made just a handful of more on Saturday. This one from Jossie Schiller is such a Jossie Schiller play, it's not even funny. Just got the rebound and then throws it up at the basket. How many EDC teams have seen that? They shot 51% from the floor. How about Coonan goes up, takes it away, lays it in. Just another ho-hum double-double for maybe right now, I'd have to say the Summit League Player of the Year, the way she's playing. Carrington Asp scores down low. She said she wants to be freshman of the year in the league. Bison take care of business, 79-72. 7-2. I know we're not going to see them play at home until after Christmas. They're going on the road this week to Eastern Illinois. Jory's team is playing well, and they're taking care of business against teams that they, frankly, shouldn't lose to. That was an easy game to maybe look past after they got a nice win on Wednesday night against Montana State in a game that they hammered Montana State. They sweep the Big Sky Challenge. Meanwhile, David Richmond's team is sitting here after an 0-2 start. The Bison men have won 7 of 8. Again, I'm here to tell you, folks, they got a team. And frankly, the start of this game was an eyesore. They didn't score a point for 7 minutes. But after that, they turned it on. See, Tay Smith, Damari Wheeler-Thomas was great. Travion Carson, we're going to start talking about what kind of player he is, because he had a double-double, nearly had a double-double in the first half of the game against NAU. This is a nifty shot from Markai Strickland, who we've profiled on this program, who got going one of 4 Bison double figures. That behind-the-back pass from Andy Stefanowicz was sensational. Put NDSU up by 7. Strickland had a big-time shot. Northern Arizona, though, would not go away. The Bison stretched it to 10. NAU kept drawing him back in. This and one from Wheeler-Thomas was massive. Put the Bison up by 6. They missed their free throws. That's why NAU was in the game. Carson with a cold-blooded 3 here. Again, you thought the game was over. They're up 6 with 90 seconds to go. NAU, though, had a chance to win it, but this tip was knocked away from Noah Feddersen. Again, the Bison are 7-3 here, folks. They're going on the road as well. They got 2 tough road games. They got Cal State Bakersfield on Thursday, and then they got a shot with Hendo and the Drake Bulldogs coming up on Saturday. Well, again, I'm here to tell you, I know you're PO'd about football. Basketball's got something to show. Once we get past Christmas and Summer League play is here, we'll see what happens. A couple of good wins there for both the Bison basketball teams. That's our best of the weekend. We do it each and every Monday at 9:20. We'll break. We come back. Our guy Sam Herder joins us to recap everything else that happened in the FCS playoffs as we're down to the final 8. That's coming up when we come back. All right, welcome back, everybody. Monday morning edition of Hot Mic off and rolling. Email inbox is on fire. We'll try and unpack that. Our guy Kolpack coming up here in about a half hour. We'll get to that. Each and every Monday at 9:30, our guy Sam Herder joins us to unpack everything in FCS football that we saw and look ahead. You've been covering FCS for a while. Is this the biggest upset in FCS history that we saw on Saturday?
I mean, if it isn't, it's got to be pretty close to being up there. I've been following the FCS since 2011, so I mean that's a long time. But at the same time, it's been the subdivision and the FCS playoffs have been happening since 78. So yeah, I don't know for sure, but it seems like it has to be up there, if not the biggest upset in the FCS playoff history. Just with the fact that it was NDSU, which has been the most dominant program by a long shot that this subdivision has seen. It was in the second round right away, so it wasn't like a quarterfinal or semifinal round. It was against unseeded Illinois State. And Illinois State's a great program, but it's not like it was like South Dakota State's, coming to the Fargo-Dome and winning early. And then you look at the point spread, it was, I think, 23.5. And then also the national championship odds, NDSU was minus 300. The next highest was Montana State at plus 500. Like, that's a monstrous gap between number one and number two odds. And so it looked like NDSU was just head and shoulders the favorites when it comes to the national championship odds. And then for them to exit right away in the playoffs in the second round was just, it was a stunner. And like I tweeted out the final result and the 2-point conversion, and it got like 4 million impressions. And there were like other college football accounts like quote tweeted saying, like, I don't think people realize how big of a deal like this is the most shocking result for quite some time. It was just absolutely crazy.
Yeah, that to me, obviously when number one goes down, especially North Dakota State, like I mentioned off the top of the show, I'm sure people were, tap dancing last night seeing the Chiefs lose. I think there's a lot of that with the Bison that are excited in the states that care about FCS football that are jumping up and down this morning, Sam, that they're out and there's now a wide open championship to be won, frankly.
Yeah, I think you look at that side of the bracket now, either Illinois State, UC Davis, Villanova, or Tarleton State, they're going to be playing for a national championship, which is crazy to think about. And then you look at the bottom side, I mean, Montana looked awesome. South Dakota has looked awesome. But at the same time, the number 2 seed, Montana State, like that was one of the ugliest performances the Cats have played. And they had some post-game, drama. I'm sure it's squashed, by now. But, I mean, the cameras caught it, the kind of the long argument between Julius Davis and Brent Vegan. But maybe that's a wake-up call for Montana State. But that was like right after the NDSU game ended. I mean, Yale was right there with Montana State, and so you're kind of going like, man, is this going to happen on the other side of the bracket too? So yeah, that bottom side of the bracket is loaded. You feel like the national title winner is going to come out of that side of the bracket, but at the same time, when you saw the number 1 seed go down to the number 2 seed, I wouldn't say nearly go down, but at least get pushed. It kind of makes you wonder, like, maybe there is actually some parity this year in the FCS.
I know you were following the other 6 games that are happening at the same time. What stood out to you watching how the Bison played, especially offensively? It looked completely different than what we've seen in the other 12 games this season, frankly.
Yeah, you kind of wonder if, maybe the bye week. NDSU was coming off the bye week. Montana State was coming off the bye week. Didn't look sharp. You had like Mercer, was coming off of a bye week. Didn't look sharp at all. And so you kind of, wonder if there was a little bit of that of not being able to wake up, enough for this game. And we've seen with NDSU in past where they have had slower starts in games. Last year against Abilene Christian, even the quarterfinals against Mercer a little bit, but NDSU just found the ability to kind of step on the gas when they really needed it to, and you're kind of waiting for NDSU to just put the foot on the gas on Saturday. And there were different points in the second half where NDSU's defense got 4th down stops in the red zone where I was going, okay, that's it. Like if Illinois State can't score there, like that's it. Illinois State's not going to win this game, and that was obviously not the case. So I think maybe just some highly seeded teams, maybe NDSU and Montana State overlooking their opponents a little bit, looking forward to the quarterfinal matchup a little bit. That could maybe play into it.
How does this affect going forward in your mind, knowing we saw the schedule come out? I'm sure ABC was, and I know we were, WDAY was pining for a Bison quarterfinal game. That goes now to Montana and South Dakota. Of this, the last 8 teams, is it up for anybody, or is it the winner of Montana State whoever ends up going there is going to win this thing in your mind?
Yeah, I think I'll be really interested to see how Montana State looks this weekend. I mean, I think SFA is good, but if it's a close game, maybe you wonder, like Montana State's. I think right now I would put them as the favorite, but they're not like the obvious favorite if they do have another close game. And then even like the South Dakota Montana game, you probably favor the Grizz there, but at the same time South Dakota is rolling right now as well. So you probably do look at that bottom side of the bracket. Whoever comes out of that side is certainly going to be the favorite going into it. But at the same time, I mean, UC Davis looks pretty dangerous as well, but they're probably going to be in a 50-50 game with Illinois State. Tarleton is probably the favorite coming out of that side of the bracket. But I mean, Villanova has had 2 impressive wins as well so far in the playoffs. So it does seem like it's, especially with like NDSU out of it, South Dakota State out of it as well, even though I don't think the Jacks were really a threat to win at all. But you take those 2 heavyweights out of it, you still have the Cats, you still have the Grizz as kind of those heavyweights. South Dakota is kind of, a newer heavyweight in the FCS. But it does feel like, this is really, really up in the air right now and who's going to win it all.
I think it's ironic. I was thinking of this yesterday morning that last year was Montana State's all-time team. They had their Walter Payton winner. That was the year they were going to do it. And now Vegans has got a better opportunity to win his championship this year. It's just completely ironic of how this has worked out.
Yeah, and I was kind of mentally preparing for that storyline of, like, I was thinking it was going to be NDSU versus Montana State this year. And I was kind of, my angle of that would have been, like, so many people were picking Montana State last year. And it didn't happen. Going into this potential game, which obviously isn't going to happen, like NDSU would have been the heavy favorite. Like, how ironic would it have been for like Montana State, to shock people if that matchup were to happen. Now, obviously it's not going to happen, and if you're Montana State, you have to be feeling really good about your chances. But again, at the same time, no matter, the Cats have to win first, and I think they'll be favored to do so against SFA. Yep. But no matter who they play in the semifinals, whether it's the Grizz, whether it's the Yotes, like that's going to be a battle as well. So it's just kind of makes the overall race for a national championship a bit more exciting. And then, the flip side of it too is we've always talked about, okay, more parity in the FCS would be a good thing. At the same time, it's not a bad thing to have your blue bloods playing late because of crowds, good attendance, because of it helps the TV numbers. Well, now we're going to see Villanova, Tarleton State on ESPN. Is that going to move the needle for national, an audience? We'll see. Whoever comes out of that side of the bracket, if it's Tarleton State or Illinois State, UC Davis, how do they travel to Nashville? Right. So, like, now we get to find out the answers to some of the questions we've had.
I think we know the answers. I don't think it's going to be very good, but we'll wait and see on that. Let's give some love, I will at least, to South Dakota, because after I saw them play up here, thought it's not good. It's not, they're not going to make the playoffs. They're not going to win more than 5 games. And yet here they are. They lost to Illinois State, and they knew they couldn't afford any more after that. They beat UND. They beat South Dakota State. They beat SIU in a game they had to have in triple overtime, Sam. And then I look up, I wasn't paying attention to start the game, and it was 21-rip on Saturday. They dominated Mercer.
Yeah, they're just humming right now. They're playing so well, and just the coaching job within this season, and the turnaround they've had. If Travis Johansson was on the Eddie Robinson Award ballot, I probably would have had him somewhere in my top 3. I just think things could have gone south so quickly for that team after losing to Lamar, and even with some of the wins, it was pretty choppy. And they returned like a lot of guys who were on last year's team just with not a lot of playing time, but they also brought in some transfers as well. And things, like I said, could have gone south in a hurry, but they kept on chipping away. And even they weren't even that. They lose to Illinois State, and they weren't playing well. And even when they beat UND, it was still like, well, they're not playing super well. And they barely beat a South Dakota State team that was down bad, but they kept on winning. And then it seemed like they really turned the corner when they show that they can get themselves into an offensive shootout and win against Southern Illinois, and then in these playoffs have looked really good. And they just absolutely beat down Mercer. It wasn't a game at all. The ground game was going, and then when the Yotes can get the ground game going, they're so good. They're so good in the play action game as well. So they're a very dangerous team right now.
I'm going to talk later about the Jacks and their loss to Montana. I want to Chad, on UC Davis, now Illinois State. Davis, if people didn't stay up to watch around here because the Bison had been beaten, Davis is rolling again. Now, this is a rematch of a game in the second round last year, now one round later between Illinois State and UC Davis. What's your early gut tell you about this one for Saturday?
Yeah, I think you probably lean UC Davis a little bit, but I do think it's going to be a really close game. I could see maybe Davis is favored by 3.5, 2.5 points, something like that. But and they've looked really good down the stretch here as well. They beat a good roadie team, and that offense just really gets rolling. Caden Pinnick is a superstar freshman quarterback for UC Davis. Still has some freshman mistakes. He takes some bad sacks. He'll throw some bad interceptions. But when that offense gets rolling, they just come at you in waves, and they're really tough to stop. At the same time, I think UC Davis's offensive line is good. They're very, very experienced offensive line. They returned pretty much their top 6 guys from last year. But after what we saw Illinois State's defensive line do to NUSU's offensive line, like that could tip the scales in the Redbirds' favor. So that's a very interesting matchup. And yeah, like you said, it's a rematch from last year. Davis just dominated Illinois State last year in the second round. So you feel like that's, when they turn on the film from last year, that's going to be a bad taste in Illinois State's mouth, and they'll probably use that a little bit for motivation.
Tarleton State, Sam, moving on into the quarters. This is the natural progression for a program that last year made it to the second round, gave South Dakota fits, lost that game. Now they hear a round later, and frankly, they've got a pathway, to me, that's paved. They don't have to leave. Now is the highest seed. They're going to host Villanova. They win that, they would host the semifinal game for a chance to go to Nashville.
Yeah, the big question for Tarleton State going into that UND game was, can the Texans match the physicality? Yeah. And I think they showed that and then some. And then you couple that with some of the speed they have offensively, and Tarleton State looks like a very dangerous squad. They're also feeling pretty good about themselves too, naturally, because, they now have home field advantage on their side of the bracket. They don't have to worry about going to Fargo. So, Villanova is also another very physical team, so that's another good test for Tarleton State. And then depending, if they win, depending on who they would face off in the semifinals, that would be another battle as well. But we thought Tarleton State could threaten, maybe that upper tier of the FCS. We weren't totally sure about that, but now it seems like they have, they have to handle business, but they have a much smoother pathway now to make it to Nashville.
Just shaking our head here collectively of what went down, and now to see what is going to happen with the final 8 teams left for the quarterfinals. Montana State SFA is the Friday night game. That's on ESPN. And then, as you mentioned, Villanova and Tarleton play at 11 a.m. Saturday. Here on WDAY, we've got USD Montana at 2:30. ESPN Plus has the Davis Illinois State game. Great stuff as always, bud. Have a tremendous week. We'll talk to you next Monday, okay?
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Sam Herder joins us each and every Monday at 9:35 to unpack what we saw across FCS football, and a lot of people still shaking their heads over what went down. And I know there's plenty spike in the football as well. I've seen it. People think that I'm some sort of Bison homer. Like, how you feeling today, Dom? Like, it doesn't matter to me one way or the other. Like, if they win, great. If they lost, okay. To me, I'm more stunned at how they played more than anything. That, to me, is just the shocking way of how this ended. All right, we'll break. We come back. We'll wrap up our first hour. Jeff Kolpack coming up in hour 2. We'll go through those other FCS games, and the portal is starting to fill up with some FCS guys, including one from up the road in Grand Forks. Back on Hot Mic after this. All right, wrapping up our first hour. Got a bunch of other emails coming. If you think Bison fans are upset this morning, Washington State fans, and there are some, have got you beat, because they are beyond miffed at Jimmy Rogers for accepting the Iowa State job. And evidently, the reporting on this after the fact, and actually, it's not even reporting. Jamie Pollard, the Iowa State AD, said it in an impromptu news conference Friday night that he and Rogers have been chatting for a while, that Rogers reached out saying, what do I have to do to become the next head football coach at Iowa State? And Pollard said, you need to go to a higher level. Obviously, Rogers accepted the Washington State gig. And, the stuff about loyalty and all that, you throw that out now because coaches can leave whenever. But the Washington State fans are not throwing it out because they thought, hey, they won 6 games. He brought in a bunch of his own guys from Brookings. Was it ever 16, 17 guys that came with him from South Dakota State? They make a bowl game. and frankly played pretty well. 6-6 after what he had to do. That's a pretty good year. And once the Matt Campbell train got going, when Penn State missed out on a couple guys, that evidently the back channel started going there, and Rogers right now is being introduced to Ames, Iowa, and leaving Washington State back where they were last year. And I got asked this Saturday, we're at the Dome, well, do you think they'll take another run at Vegan? And I'm like, if I'm Vigs, I'm like, I already, that train's left the station. Vigs is either set at Montana State or hoping for something bigger. Granted, we talked about this as well when the Oregon State interview happened, that he's going to have to adjust his mindset that teams aren't going to wait around. But heck, what's Washington State going to do? You know what I mean? Like, they like, Vigs, go coach your team, and then you come here when you're ready. What else are they going to have happen? Rick Neuheisel's name is out there, though, as well, former Colorado coach and current, I think, CBS sports analyst that may potentially get that gig. But it is the age we live in now on this one. But that one, and for some of the Jackrabbit fans reached out, too, saying, well, you know, how did they – couldn't have seen this coming. Yeah, you could have. That's why he left after 2 years there, because he was looking for, obviously, for this. And, by the way, Iowa State opens the 2027 season. Guess with who? South Dakota State. That should be fun. Granted, who knows who's going to be coaching or if that game even will happen come 2027. But, yeah, that was the other biggie of a wowzer weekend of happening around college football, because Matt Campbell now is the head coach at Penn State. Jimmy Rogers now the head coach at Iowa State. Tulane filled its gig, so we don't have many jobs still open. Washington State is the last real big one among the quote-unquote Power 5 or Power 6, however you want to frame it there. All right, let's break. We come back. Jeff Kolpack will join me. Lots to unpack from the Bison defeat to Illinois State. We'll get his thoughts on that. Your emails, texts, all coming in. We'll do that. Hour 2 on Overreaction Monday starts after this.
This is Hot Mic. Hot Mic. On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo. It's that time. An author.
Offensive production, number 1. Number 2. I forgot.
Golfer.
It'd be like going on a 3-person best shot, and we were saying, Kolpack, you got to make a 25-footer every time. You wouldn't putt first. I'd have Tim putt first.
And one heck of a TV personality.
This game is for the Cooper Cup.
It's the Forum's Jeff Kolpack.
4! I should have yelled 2.
Here's Jeff Kolpack. His appearances are brought to us by Northwestern Mutual on a Monday morning. What do you got going on the next 2 weeks?
Oh,
Your schedule opened up?
A little bit.
Mine did.
A little bit. I think the word, and talking to like a friend of mine in Nashville who puts on the watch parties, disbelief. Well, I think there's a disbelief out there.
Are they smashing things there because they know the Bison aren't coming now? Yeah, there's.
Well,
a lot
they would
of
be
that.
In Frisco for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of heads shaking this morning. There's a bunch of emails which we're going to get to here throughout the course of your segment. But just now, it's been 36 hours. Give me your couple thoughts on what transpired in your mind on Saturday.
It was probably one of the more subpar offensive line performances I've seen in a long time from this program. I think the old coordinator didn't have his best day either. Cole, was he hurt? I mean, the run game was non-existent. And some of the just like the 3rd and 4 late in the game, a 5-step drop. Yep. I didn't get that either. When they were getting pressured all day, that was never really there. Yep.
On a 3rd and 7, the swing to Owen Johnson,
his first touch of the game.
That?
Yeah,
that to me was curious at best on what went down.
How about the end of the first half when they threw the bomb to Bryce Lance, and then instead of just kneeling the ball, I mean, what were they on, a 10 or 12?
Yeah, they were at their own, maybe deeper. It might have been their own 7 or 8 yard line. It was deep in their own territory.
And then they took a heave to Lance and then had to punt the ball because
they didn't run the clock out. That was bizarre as well. There are a lot of things on this. To me, they had 5 interceptions. They had had a punt return touchdown and lost the football game.
Yeah, you file this away, and you and I have been doing this a long time, and if you do it a long time, you'll eventually see a lot of stuff, and this was 5 and 2. One was a pick six, one nearly a pick six, and resulted in a 4-yard touchdown. a punt return for a touchdown, and you lose.
I know it. We haven't even shown the Bison big plays. Let's do that here because, honestly, the way that they played defensively, and people say, well, you scored 28 points, you should win. Well, the offense only generated 14 of those, and one was a big play. The other was a 4-yard touchdown. In between, they did nothing.
Nothing, yeah,
I mean,
nothing. Just
defensively, they look at it here.
Bounce, left-hander
So, I mean,
will
they
come
go
out
out here, and you look at, this is the first play of the game, and think Bryce Lance is gone. I'm looking at you and Mike thinking, all right, here we go. Same old second round. Bison are going to hammer him away. And that was the last we saw of Bryce Lance during the game. You can't say enough, honestly, of what the Bison defense did in this game. Edey got a pick for the third straight game. Woolen was great. Staling comes up with 2 plays. And Jackson Williams had another big play.
Yeah, and after this one, you're thinking, okay,
right.
I think he was untouched.
Untouched, yeah. Jeffrey. No one got within the zip code of him to score a touchdown. At that point, again, it's 14-rip ball game, right? It usually would signal that in the playoffs at home. That was not the case.
Sometimes, though, and I've heard this, and a friend of mine told me, once you score that easy early.
So go to that point, because Jackson Williams said it after the game.
He said it too, right?
He said it after the game.
He thought it was over.
Yes.
They're going home.
Yes.
He thought it was over.
Right. How many others on the team thought that as well?
Exactly. But sometimes when you score too easy early in the game, you just don't have the. It's a tendency, natural tendency to say, "Oh, this game's over. Let's move on."
And there were multiple times for it to be over. If the offense could have gotten a first down, if the offense could have done anything, even get a field goal, like if this is the second Staling pick, that again, just all right. It's 21-14. Now they make this play. Okay.
Yeah, and those touchdowns gave them great field position too. It's not like they picked them off at down by the goal line. I mean,
and the fact there was a stop they had there on 4th down. Here's the Shadimi Alfaro pick that put him down to the 4-yard line. That made it because Pettu scored in the next play. So it's 28-14. Certainly now in the 4th quarter, thinking, okay, offense, get a couple first downs, and Illinois State's going to run out of time. They just won't have any time. And then they got this from Toby Anene and still couldn't clinch out the game.
Illinois State ran 91 plays. Yeah. And they ran 91 plays as a huddling offense. Not like it was quick ball like Montana did in 2015 when I think they ran 92. 91 plays on an offense
or
like huddles.
Like Incarnate Word had 95 or whatever a couple years ago in the semifinal game, and they were, hey, we're going up and we're going to snap the ball. That was not what Illinois State. I'll give it. Spack said it in the press conference. He said it earlier in the week. If we have a chance, we're going to go. That's such a not Brock Spack thing to do, is go for 2, and there was no hesitation they were going to do that. At the
Absolutely
end of the game.
not. I mean, we were up in the press box where they're going for 2.
Yeah.
There's just no doubt about it. You go for 2. You go for the win when you have a chance, especially on the road. In a place like the Dome, absolutely.
Just after this, obviously the motion was clear because the Bison seniors are done. I mean, that's Cole Payton's last game, Bryce Lance last game, Logan Kopp last game.
They never went to Lance after that.
No,
was
he? They tried. I mean, they tried a couple of them, but they never really were chances that they were going to make those.
No,
plays.
you remember like in the Montana State title game, he was getting those comeback routes all day because they have so much cushion on them. Never saw that. A little
Peyton didn't have any time to do it. That's, I guess,
a 7-yard out or a 7-yard curl.
I don't even know. But did they have time to go 7 yards? That's the thing. I don't know if they had time for anything to develop down the field because Illinois State was constantly in Peyton's face.
So the offensive line, all underclassmen. And was this a product of a young team that finally got?
Well, it's funny you say that because I had a message come in earlier in the show.
Recruiting classes.
And this was direct result. Is it fair to say that NDSU's missed on some O-linemen that have been recruited? This isn't the only game the O-line has been a weakness, which I'm going back to UND
and
as
we were
well.
talking about the recruiting classes in 21 and 22.
They got
were
nothing out of that.
Nothing.
They got nothing out of those classes.
Fraley is a transfer.
Right. Griffin Empey is a walk-on as part of the class of 24 or 23. He's a sophomore. Bo
Johnson's 23.
Is 23 is a redshirt junior, sophomore, sorry. And then you've got Tosted, who's a redshirt freshman. Babbitt started, and Mangan's a converted defensive lineman who never played offensive line in his life till he got here. So it's safe to say.
So maybe that caught up to him finally.
Yes, I do think so. I do. I think the fact we were talking about it, I know Polisic dismissed it to me and to you when we brought it up because he got snippy, I think is the best way to say it, when we asked him, hey, you're still messing with the offensive line in Game 11. They never got a solid 5 that they were ready to go
It
with.
didn't seem like it did it.
No,
it didn't seem like
I mean,
it.
by November, you want to say, okay, because I remember texting you, I'm on the field in Brookings. I'm like, hey, Babbitts is going to play tonight and play a lot. Like, wow, that's a big moment for I mean, they think highly of the young man, but he's a true freshman playing in the 9th game of the season and the biggest game of the year to that point.
There was things that got exposed against Illinois State.
Certainly.
That defensive line for Illinois State just owned them.
Absolutely.
Owned them.
And that was physicality. I think that's what Polisic said after.
Bull rushing.
Correct.
Yeah, just strict
the
bull
Bison
rushing.
were out physical, and that's, again, nothing we've ever seen before in the postseason. That, to me, again, you want to start drawing conclusions on that. They had 3 first-team offensive linemen, all right? Bo was great this year. Empey and Fraley were really good. Just they were not good Saturday.
Nope.
They weren't. The fact that they have so many younger guys that were playing in big spots, and again, that was something the head coach addressed after
Never
the game.
saw 3rd and 5 in the Bison offensive old. You could do the power game 2 plays.
Yep.
4th and 2. It felt 4th and 2 and he didn't go for it. 4th and 2 felt like 4th and 8.
Yep. Dom and Jeff, credit to SPAC for out-coaching the Bison for the first time of any opponent this season, with maybe the exception of Eric Schmidt. Bison defense was great until they got gassed and didn't make a play when it mattered, and offense was clearly anemic. Dan Larson did not have his best game. He's at best mediocre. He's been relying all year on the talent of guys on offense and getting bailed out by the defense whenever the Bison had faced a team that actually can play D. If the players are being held to a higher standard, so must the staff that are making the calls.
I felt like the playbook just wasn't there either.
It
felt like it just shrunk.
Totally.
There was no jet sweeps. There was just
it's
just
very plain
yeah.
on that. Here's on Cole Payton. Why not get him out of the pocket to avoid losing the ball on a strip? Why not take a timeout to talk defense at the end zone? So Polisic said on the coaches show last night, on the one that Cole got stripped at the end, that maybe we should have run the ball there, which is easy to say that. Like, what are you doing?
Roll him out, give him the option.
But again, they never presented Payton to run the ball at all, which goes to show then 2 things. To me, he's hurt, which clearly he left the game against St. Thomas 2 weeks ago, and his knee was iced up and with a pretty sizable limp, or just the most bizarre play calling, because they never did that all season long, was the quarterback run game was used.
Yeah, and one of the best running quarterbacks in the country.
That one is mystifying. That one I need more clarification on. This is another one I want to get to. We talked about in the pregame show. Dom, I have no sympathy for the Bison fans. By not showing up for Saturday's game, they took away a huge part of home field advantage. How many times have we seen crowd noise be a factor? I'm not saying it would have made a difference, but the arrogance of people who figured they would skip this game because it would be a blowout as a parent, those who assumed they could just wait till next week's game paid the price for staying home.
But this game also spoke FBS to me, too, on
Really?
the fan base, on interest.
Because on the other thing, they're tired of this and thinking they were
just not doing it anymore.
I will say this, for the 10,400, they were loud.
Yeah,
I thought they made a
there's
difference. Illinois State had at least
3 or 4 false start penalties.
False starts in the game. I'm not going to hang it out. The Bison fans that were there were definitely noticeable. I will say to that point, we've certainly run through this before, that people say, hey, you know what? I'm not going the second round. I think the crowd would have been less this coming week had they won. That, we'll go over the semifinal game, and then we'll see you, as you mentioned, in Nashville. That certainly is the case. But I think, to your point, there's probably something of that too.
I mean, look at 10 national championships in the Division I era?
Yep.
And just 12, you're always 10-1, 11-1, 12-0. It's just, to me, the fan, there's a fatigue there. And to me, it's 80% want to go FBS.
Yeah. I think,
and growing, by the way.
And I'm sure that people come out of the woodwork on this because the Bison lost on, you want to go to It's beyond one game losing here.
Right.
Dom and Jeff, all year they could never figure out the 5 best offensive linemen. In all the one-score games, Youngstown State, UND, and this playoff loss, the offense had the chance to close out the game and didn't get it done. The first 2 games, Cole Green saved the day with a turnover to seal the game.
Yeah, Anthony against UND.
And then Anthony against Youngstown. He stripped the ball that the fumble recovered. Looking back, they really didn't get anything from the 2021 and 2022 class at O-line. They started a true freshman and a redshirt freshman on Saturday. Do they have a nasty O-lineman that plays with an edge in the middle, like an Austin Coonert or an Austin Richard? That's yet to be determined, I would say, at this point. I think Griffin Empey is pretty darn nasty in there, and I'd say Empey's probably their best offensive lineman.
And I think you look at the recruiting class this year with Thieneman and Earl Brown.
Yep.
That's more the size that they're
Yep.
looking for. The 6'5" guy, 300 that can move. So I think they're getting better and getting back to the type of old lineman they want to recruit that can make a difference.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, though. Just we talked about it. I don't know if we talked about it enough that what they were rolling with because they were winning games. But again, we brought it up that they were still messing with the offensive line.
Yeah, but it was a prolific offense most of the year.
It was.
I mean,
it was. But for this game, they just completely vanished.
You had the number one quarterback in all of Division I football in PFF, which takes all these factors into account, but certainly completion percentage and yards per completion.
Let's do one more here.
Okay.
Dom and Jeff, I was at Saturday's Illinois State game. I wasn't understanding why they didn't run Cole more. As the game went on, Illinois State started selling out and ran to stop our running backs. At some point, I was waiting for Cole to keep the ball and take off around the end that at times were wide open as the Redbirds flow with the ball carrier. Cole had not run much in the past 3 weeks. I wonder why. Well, we're in the same boat there. Clearly, obviously, he got dinged out. And then to compound things, Kolpack, he gets hurt on the strip. So Nathan Hayes gets thrown in at the end of the game and has to try and save the day there with 50 seconds left.
Yeah, and it's still Eli Olchik's a good kicker.
Yep.
He's got range. So what did Tim figure they had to get to the 36?
Right, that's about 50 yards there. Yeah, about 53. They would have a chance to win the game.
Still doable, certainly.
And frankly, I thought even when Hayes got in and zinged a couple passes, like, well, that's just something we didn't see when Peyton was in the game for some reason.
I'm upstairs in the press box cranking my story on a different outcome because that first story's got to be done at the buzzer.
Last one here. What happened to the QB run game since the Youngstown State game? What happened to using a fullback? This is a complete meltdown. Try Wildcat, 3 or 4 first downs at any time in the game, and they win by 2 touchdowns. Dan Larson could have told his line to block normal and run a screen pass Saturday if he wanted. They're sorely missing Randy Hedberg. I think that was something we talked about as well, between Jake Landry and Randy Hedberg both being gone. I don't know if that really showed in tight moments until maybe on Saturday. I don't know. I mean, that's what's going to happen in a game like this is everybody's going to come out of the woodwork and call for the offensive coordinator to be terminated and be let go. I mean, there's more to that, but again, if the quarterback wasn't 100%, and that's something we just don't know the answer to, then that everything starts there. Because then what other reason is there for him to roll out and run with the ball? Right?
There is none.
I can't think of anything else that would prevent that. All right, let's break. We come back. Now to talk with Kolpack on what's ahead, because for the first time ever, the Bison are done playing in the first weekend of December, in the Division I era, that is. Back on Hot Mic on WDAY Extra right after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. You know, this says a lot about the fans and viewers of our show, that they are super pumped to talk to you specifically. I had this happen at the basketball game on Saturday night. Hey, I can't wait for Hot Mic on Monday. I'm like, yeah, we're going to have some fun. Here's an email right to what you were just talking about. Dom and Jeff, James Madison is in the playoffs. That could be the Bison. Maybe fans would show up then. Maybe. I mean, that's what you hope for. Seeing JMU get picked yesterday as Tulane made it in as well. You got 2 group of 5 schools make it into the college football playoff.
And it didn't take JMU that long.
3 years.
3 years.
Think about that.
I think NDSU would be competitive right now in the Mountain West.
After seeing Mountain West play this year, I would totally agree with that. Here's another one. What's the future hold for next year at quarterback with Nathan Hayes? Will there be a competition, or is there anyone to compete with him?
Well, he's QB1.
He is definitely the guy.
That has already been anointed.
But if you saw him play at all this year, you can understand that why.
But the interesting thing will be you need a good backup, obviously, and they're thinking about redshirting Preston Brown.
Yes. Yep.
So the confidence level in Trey Drake and Xander Smith is good enough.
So Trey will be a redshirt junior. It'll be his 4th year if he doesn't leave. And then obviously Xander's will be a redshirt sophomore, freshman next season on the team. So that's, again, going back, we're talking about offensive line. I don't know if that's something they're going to go maybe look in the portal. Because they did not bring, granted they didn't bring a quarterback in, but that's maybe something they can get to. That's my next question. And I mentioned this in my on-air segment for the news on Saturday, with the season being done as early as it is, this is new territory. NDSU's always had a map to do what they want in the offseason. This is brand new. And now the Vultures, are circling right now. They are
circling right now. And the problem with now the season being over, by the way, football never ends for us.
Nope.
But the season being over for the players is now they have more time to think.
They have time to go home. With finals coming up, some that don't take them in person, they can get out of here, and that's when the football coaches lose their gourd, honestly, because they're not around them. And you heard Polsek, I don't know if you asked the question at the postgame, saying, we got to get with these guys, we got to talk to these guys. What he's saying there, folks, is we got to talk to our main 15 to say, hey, we want you here. We're going to do everything we can to keep you here.
And it is my belief, and I believe your belief, that the collective, the Green and Gold Fund, is north of $2 million, we believe.
It's doing,
if not over $2 million.
The problem is for the teams that are out, I know Griffin Empey and Toby and Nene have standing six-figure offers already. I mean, what are you going to do on that?
You're probably going to lose a couple.
Right?
You're probably going to lose a couple. But if you can just keep to a couple, I think you call that good.
Right. I mean, that's the challenge now. When you look at the guys who are making plays, and frankly, I don't think it was a calculated deal. I think we texted about this. Who was in the post-game presser? Jackson Williams.
Underclassmen.
Nathaniel Staling was in there, and who was my third? Donovan Woolen, right? Yep. Those are three heavyweights they got to keep on the roster. If I'm going to say off the top of my head, the 15 guys the Bison want to keep, those are 1, 2, and 3, right? At the top of the list, outside of the quarterback.
Certainly Donovan Woolen, certainly Nene.
Yes.
Just Jaquise Alexander. Yes. You could go up and down the line there.
Bo Johnson, Griffin Empey, keep going. Fraley, you know what I mean? Those are all the guys that they're going to...
And I would argue Reese Kessel, the way he showed out, although he wasn't a factor.
Was not a factor in the game. That's another thing.
They didn't target him.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. I got another email about that on Kessel that he did play. And we saw that in the participation report wrong, but Kessel was there, was wide open, and never got thrown the football in the game on Saturday. Again, Reese caught a pass in every game but one this season. He wasn't a deal. But that's now the challenge as you look ahead of what the next... Because the portal officially opens the 2nd, runs to the 11th. But if you're... It doesn't matter now. You can declare. We see Sawyer Seidel announced last night, UND stud running back, that he's going in the portal. That doesn't matter. You don't have to wait till January 2, Jeffrey, to announce if you want to do this or not.
Who's Washington State can go after?
You know what?
Are they going to go back after Vegan?
Let me dovetail off of that. Jimmy Rogers is problem 1A for all the guys we just mentioned. Because Rogers knows this area better than anybody. I'm going to need players. Well, I know exactly what the Bison have. Why don't I go get them? That's now a clear and present danger, to use the great Harrison Ford movie. That's right there sitting for the Bison, I would think, off that question.
Well, yes. And does he bring any Washington State guys with him? Do you just keep hopscotching schools?
Right. Like the Jackrabbit fans that are sitting there like, I can't believe you would do that. Of course. Yeah. This is the whole plan. This was the whole deal. So, yeah, to your answer your question, probably.
Do some go back to Brookings? No. They go to Iowa Iowa City.
That ship has sailed on that. Yep. So, on Washington State, I don't think so. I don't think it's Vigs. I think both parties have gone down that road and...
But now they can say, "No, we'll wait for you."
Right, they could, and Brent may entertain that. But
But now, after saying you agree to the extension,
I don't think so. Yeah. I think they're talking to Rick Neuheisel that he may be coming back.
Again, it's like Oregon State. I don't know how good of a job that is anymore. Washington State.
No, I agree. I'm with you on that.
I think I read yesterday where I think Jimmy Rogers is a little frustrated with the fan base with a lack of collective.
Yep. Well, he had to know what he's getting himself into there. But again, that was however long it was going. I don't think they thought Matt Campbell would leave this year. I thought maybe next year, but you got to go when the job is there. We were talking about that on the Polisic angle when that was up a couple weeks ago. Hey, you'd love to be here maybe 3 years, but if it's a chance to go in 2, you got to go and take it. Look at Bob Chesney was at JMU for 2 years. Now he's going to be coaching UCLA. You just got to go when you get the opportunity to do it. So I think to put a bow on this, and I think we're still kind of shaking our heads about it of how good this team was. That I had this email as well, and I'll throw this at you before we go. Would a regular season loss have served them well? Polisic talked about that during the end of the press conference on Saturday.
It's the Al McGuire theory.
Yeah.
Remember Al McGuire,
Yes.
the basketball analyst, when he was coaching Marquette? He goes, I didn't mind losing a game toward the end of the year because you get the attention of your players back.
Yeah. And
a loss gets their attention.
But you know what? And here's the thing. Scheduling is what it is. Let me bring this up to you. I thought about this in the shower. I have great epiphanies there. The last two games, Jeff, Northern Iowa and St. Thomas, they were not challenged in those games. They didn't play their full. They didn't have to. Was that a thing?
Well, then Illinois State comes and goes, you know what? We're here to play.
Right.
We're a little more physical than those teams.
Was that a thing? I mean, Peyton was pulled after the first play of the second half against Northern Iowa. He didn't play in the second half, and obviously we know he got dinged up. But to me, I think there's an element of that. You can't control the schedule. I get it, but they were not challenged in the final two games of the season. Illinois State got dusted their final game of the regular season. You know what? They got blown out.
That's so bizarre about football. You're talking about Southern Illinois just killed them.
Yes.
And actually, Brock Spack said that. He goes, I don't even know who was that team.
Yeah.
I don't think he talked to the media. Is that what he alluded to after the SIU
he did
game?
not address he said he would not address the SIU game prior to the game with Southeastern Louisiana. So he was not going to talk about it, which ended up working out now. So how
about South Dakota? Whoever thought that the
I
Coyotes?
talked about that. I'm going to get to that in my next segment here. After leaving here, no. After they lost by
now
a billion.
Now they won 7 of 8.
Right. And the fact of who they've beaten along that trip now. Now they got a date out in Missoula. Who's your pick now to make Nashville?
Of course, Montana State, and
I think Tarleton.
I got to go Tarleton.
It's either Tarleton or Illinois State. I think Illinois State can go and win.
I think they're going to go to Davis and win.
I do too.
Yep.
I mean, they could go to Tarleton and win, and then they would have won 4 games all on the road. I mean, Youngstown didn't even do that. Youngstown at least got a home game, 2 home games, in fact, when they made it to the championship game in 2016.
Yeah, 7-1 now away from home.
Right.
And the one loss is
Oklahoma.
Yep.
Which doesn't look too bad considering Oklahoma's in the college football playoff. Just unbelievable. Well, enjoy your weekends off now, my man.
No, it's Portal watch season, baby. Yeah. We're on the clock watching it.
I think they're not the only one. I think their coachings are going to be targeted as well. I think there's a couple of assistants that are going to have to be, that's the Bison lost a couple obviously last year with Randy Hedberg retiring and Nick Gazer moving on as well. That might be something brewing there too. Don't know, but wouldn't be surprised.
Well, the basketball teams are brewing.
I said that earlier. Yeah. They're doing all right. Great stuff all year, bud. Thanks for coming by. There you see him every Monday. Jeff Kolpack, his appearances are brought to us by
Am I done now?
Mutual. No, we got you back. No, we're back next Monday.
I thought you were firing me.
Not at all.
Okay.
Just saluting on a great job during the year. All right, we break. We come back. We'll examine what we saw this weekend across the division, including Sawyer Seidel's name in the transfer portal at UND. That's coming up when we return. All right, welcome back, everybody, in a fast-moving Monday spectacular. Final half hour already. Still got a lot of emails. We'll try and get to a few here. This is on Bison attendance. Dom, I'd be interested to find from where people are coming from to attend Bison games. 10 to 15 years ago, there were a lot of people coming from out west. I recall driving from Bismarck to Fargo on Saturday mornings. There was a steady stream of vehicles with Bison stickers and people wearing Bison gear. A stop for gas and snacks and steel. Saw a sea of Bison yellow. I made it to 3 Bison games this year and didn't see the same sort of traffic on 94. In the early days of D1, NDSU held public events in Bismarck and other points west to develop the fan base. Perhaps that kind of recruiting is necessary again. Just a thought. Appreciate that. I know they've tried each and everything on reaching out on that. I think the game day changes that have gone into effect last year into this year have been positive. This might be for something further down the road on a rainy day when we can chat about why people don't go to the games. But to me, that wasn't a deal on Saturday. I thought that the 10,400 that were there were loud, were into it, and affected the game. Illinois State had 4 or 5 false starts. They were rattled by it. That, again, goes to show what a 18,000-seat crowd would have done had they been there. I think the apathy towards the drubbing in the playoffs certainly had a factor in that. To me, though, I mean, if my favorite team is out there unbeaten, pounding teams into the ground, what else are you doing? That to me, I don't. But here's the thing on my last point on this, and I want to get around to a couple other topics. The fan base in 2011, speaking directly to this emailer, of 11, 12, and 13, when they were, this was the start of it now. Think about that's 14 to 13 to 12 years ago. So those people, let's say they're in their early 20s. Now you're in your mid-30s. You have family. You have other obligations. You have other things going on that's to compete with your time to get to the game. That's a real thing as well. I can say that now as a dad. My old structure, I'm 46. I became a dad when I was 40. Your old time is just different. Other obligations to go. I'd love to be able to go to the amount of movies I used to. It just doesn't happen anymore. I'm fine with that. I love being a dad and the obligations that come with that, but there's no time to do such things anymore. That to me is I think a realistic part of that as well. Do I think that they are absolutely spoiled? Absolutely. Not a doubt in my mind. But then you look at the numbers that came in from across the subdivision this weekend. Bison still had pretty good attendance. Montana State's rolling. Montana's rolling. They're going to get 20,000 for those games. They still haven't experienced the success the Bison had. Flat out. And if people are saying, well, I'm not going until FBS football is reality or this is going to happen, then that's your prerogative to do that. I cannot chide you on that because I think that that opens up a whole other possibility for people to come to games. The excitement of seeing a San Jose State or Nevada or UNLV come here, that's pretty darn cool, as opposed to seeing Murray or Illinois State come back. But playoff football is different. This is the one and done part of it that finally the big boy division is embracing, and I think you're going to see it with those home games again next weekend, like a game in Eugene. That's pretty, with James Madison playing that's pretty darn cool. And I think you saw it again when the selection yesterday of the 12 teams that, hey, FCS has it right. Division II, Division III, they have a bracket that they play it out. It's the way to go on what's going on. What'd you want to add on that, Eric?
What about potentially of moving the home game times instead of the 2:30? Because those 2:30 games, it's like your day is gone. And if you're tailgating at 9 or 10, whenever the lot's open, to 2:30, then you're getting done at 5:36. What if you move the games up to noon, 1 o'clock?
Yeah, see, that goes back to the last email. They moved them so people out west could make the games. So they weren't, if you're driving 4 hours from Tioga or from Williston, that you could leave and come tailgate for a bit and come to the game. And I would be a fan of, to your point, of playing a night game, a regular season night game every year. They used to do that. They used to play a game, and maybe they'll do this now with the advent of 12 games. They used to play a game on a Thursday night at home before Labor Day. Every year. My first 3-4 years here, they did that. It was awesome. That was great. You go to the game, and you still had your Labor Day weekend in front of you. Those are options as well.
Could they partner with hotels to say, hey, you got a ticket, their hotel is going to give you a room for $50 for the night or whatever.
Maybe.
Just to get more fans here if you want to move game times up, because maybe that'll help attendance.
I think we've been down that road. To me, that is not why they did not win the game on Saturday. Why they didn't win the game, they were out physical to the line of scrimmage. End of story. That has just not happened in playoff football for NDSU. Attendance doesn't do anything for me. Quarterback play was subpar, which again goes to the fact that the offensive line was constantly in Cole Payton's face the entire game, and why they either chose not to run Payton or was Cole not 100%. An answer that still waiting for. I don't know if I'll get it. Asking about it. Don't know if we'll get one anytime soon on that. All right, let's go around the FCS here as we do each and every Monday in this time slot. We mentioned it earlier with the Vultures circling UND off of I would say a great year. You're going to sit there and say 8-6, but now they're dealing with the challenges of being successful because their best offensive player is in the transfer portal. Last night, the news broke that Sawyer Seidel is going to leave UND after an all-conference season where he scored 13 touchdowns and was UND's most electric player on offense. Now his brother plays at the University of Minnesota. Hill Murray guys, you'd think there's some direct correlation that maybe he wants to go join with his bro and PJ Fleck at the University of Minnesota. That's something to watch, but you cannot ignore. And that's when we talked about it, when the all-conference teams comes out, that's what teams look for at the higher level. Whoa, can we go get this guy? His eligibility, he's got 2 years of eligibility remaining. An electric player who proved, at least to me and I think to a lot of people, that he can be maybe an every down back. He's not the type of runner that Gavin Zebarth is for UND. And now UND's got a plan here. They've lost their top 2 tailbacks. Zebarth graduates and Seidel's gone. That's already some work for Eric Schmidt to work on. But again, that's the price of being successful at this level of football. Is this what happens? Speaking of the University of North Dakota, their season ends with an 8-6 mark. They lost to Tarleton on Saturday in a game where we thought going in, you take a look at what the Texans can do, and they did with their big playability. Seidel was great. He scored the 2 touchdowns that UND scored in the game. But Victor Gabalis, who's their quarterback, can hit the home run ball. That was one of them. Made it a 21 to 6 score. UND got back on a second Seidel touchdown run. It was 24-13 early in the fourth, and then Gabalis goes deep here, 77-yarder to Marquise Willis. That was the dagger. Get into the end zone. Tarleton State wins it 31-13. Texans are in the quarterfinals for the first time in program history. We mentioned this. Tarleton has aspirations of higher football as well. And they're going to have a game on national television for the first time in their home stadium on Saturday morning. Check it out. They had 19,000 there for that game with UND. Might be more on Saturday. It's Texas. Big boy football. They want to be in it. They've got the facilities. They've got the money that they think they're just waiting for an invite. Now they have a chance to maybe make their first FCS championship. It's there. They're the highest seed remaining on that side. We mentioned him earlier. Full credit and flowers will be given to Travis Johansson of the University of South Dakota. They are the final Dakota school standing after they absolutely slayed Mercer on Saturday. I mean, if you were out tailgating or you're out running some errands and then, all right, I'm going to flip on the game, it was over by the time you decided to do that. It was 21-0 early in the second quarter of this game. LJ Phillips is bouncing off of guys like they're bowling pins here to get into the end zone. That made it 14-0 Coyotes. Watch this run. I mean, I love our Mercer Bears, but Stace, what are you doing? Nobody touched them. 21 rip Coyotes then. Then watch, this is the slowest developing play ever, and it goes for a touchdown. Tyson Bowes, 63 yards. Again, nobody's in the screen. Braden Atkinson, who is the Jerry Rice winner as the freshman of the year, looked bad. His stat line, 18 of 39, 148 yards, 4 interceptions. South Dakota won it 47 rip. Bauman goes 13 of 18 for 241 and 2. All credit to them. I mean, I'm telling you right now, if you had eyeballs and watched that game at the Fargo-Dome on late September, it was 51-13. I kept asking, why is Bauman still in the game? And then they ran off 3 in a row against the dregs of the valley, Northern Iowa, Murray, Indiana State. Struggled with Indiana State, but won it. Lost to Illinois State at home. Like, all right, that's it. That's 4 losses. They can't afford any more. What did they do? They beat UND. They beat South Dakota State. They beat Southern Illinois in the craziest game imaginable in 3 overtimes. Right? Remember, they played 12 straight weeks. They got a bye, and now here they are in the last 8, and a heck of a chance. They got a tough game because they got to play Montana. The Grizz look like they were ready for South. Like, this is a game they've been waiting for 3 years for against South Dakota State. And the way it started, here it come. Jackrabbits got to stop at the 1 yard line to start it. Then Chase Mason, it's Graham Goring for a 95-yard touchdown. And you're thinking, all right, here we go. The Jackrabbits are humming again. Their quarterback's back. They're going to go and win another road game. Here, Mason fumbled the snap, was still able to pick it up and score. South Dakota State led 14-6 at that point. And then the floodgates opened for the Grizz. Because they have this guy, Eli Gilman, in for a touchdown. Made it 15-14 Montana. They were up 22-14 at the break. Second half, now it's 29-14. Kili Ayat over the middle. That's Michael Wortham, the Eastern Washington transfer. That made it 36-14 Grizz at that point. Then watch a little razzle-dazzle, a little behind-the-back Statue of Liberty to Gilman for the icing on the cake. Montana put 50 up on the Jackrabbits. And a turbulent year for South Dakota State ends with a mark of 9-5, and the Grizz are moving on to the quarters. They'll play on Saturday as they'll take on South Dakota. Montana State will get Stephen F. Austin on the other side of that bracket. And then we mentioned you've got UC Davis against Illinois State and Villanova against Tarleton State. That are the final 8 teams left in the tournament. Just a wild development. Now, I love myself some FCS football. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think anybody's been watching these games. The Montana USD game might get some viewers simply because it's on Channel 6. It's on ABC. But the other ones, I'd love to be wrong, but I don't think I'm going to be. I'm not saying everybody would watch for the Bison. I'm not saying that. But I think there are people that are drawn in because they know the name. It's just a matter of fact. If you were to ask 10 people where Tarleton State is, do you think 1 out of 10 could answer the right one? I'd be hard-pressed on that. All right, we'll take our final break. We'll come back. We'll give our poll results. A couple more emails on a crazy overreaction Monday. We wrap things up after this. All right, wrapping things up here on a Monday morning. Tomorrow, Dave Richmond will join us, NDSU men's basketball head coach, Bison off their sweep of the Big Sky Summit League Challenge. RIP to that. That's the last time we'll have it. He'll join us tomorrow. They get ready for Bakersfield and Drake. He'll join us tomorrow on the show. Looking forward to that. One last email. And everybody reached out. Awesome. Great stuff today. We'll keep them coming. I know there's no shortage of nobody knows what to do themselves now. Like I said, to my wife, I'm going to Jack's soccer game on Saturday. I'm looking forward to that. I haven't been able to do it. I got my Saturdays free for a little bit here. Wasn't planning on that. On the crowd, Dom, I agree with you. The crowd is silent on offense. What would 5,000 more in attendance do for the Bison defense? A 6 turnover? Like Warner Wolf used to say, if you had NDSU and 5 turnovers, you lost. That's exactly right on that. All right, poll question. What was the biggest reason that the Bison lost on Saturday? Biggest factor, offensive line play calling, or defense play too much? To me, it was offensive line play. I thought they got dominated up front, and that is correct. 54% of 362 people that voted, because you can't do it more than once. That's awesome. Great feedback this morning on that. Play calling with 37%, and the defense playing too much, about 9%. And there's the same comments here on this. Felt absolutely gutted for Code Green. There was a championship defense completely let down by the offense. Worst loss in D1 history for the Bison. Now that's a debate we could have, because remember, this team lost to Indiana State in 2012 at home. Still not sure why they wouldn't roll Peyton out more in the O-line. Obviously, still couldn't protect him in the pocket. If Peyton was hurt and couldn't run close to full speed, Hayes needed to play. NDSU had the luxury of 2 quarterbacks with playing time and who could run the offense. Appreciate that. More of that coming, I'm assuming, on the show tomorrow. Let's do some What to Watch before we get out of here. Great stuff today, folks. All right, What to Watch brought to us by Northwestern Mutual. All right, Monday Night Football tonight. Eagles and Chargers. Yes, I wrote Disney Plus because they have the Monsters, Inc. game tonight. The Jackman's excited about that, so am I. That's tonight. Sons of the Wolves, that's exclusive on Peacock, 6:30 tonight. The Wolves are back home, and the Wild take on the Kraken in Seattle, 9 o'clock on FanDuel Sports North. Our thanks to Sam Herder and Jeff Kolpack, and to all of our viewers, emails, tweets, all of it was text messages. It was great. We'll do it all again tomorrow. Have a great Monday, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. See you tomorrow.